Now who wanna move out and on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we got 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em, single bottle, never stop it. To the beast and know 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black, and white.
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. IO. Are they winning?
No, they are not. It's 3-0 right now. But hey, we're driving, baby. We're driving.
Okay, it's fair. And we are joined today by Parker Blake, the absolute man when it comes to just all kinds of knowledge. But O-line, he's always our guy. We love to talk O-line with. Before we get there, though, I figure we got to at least talk about Jeremy Fowler saying the Bengals are kind of working hard to get that Chase deal done. So fingers crossed. Maybe over the weekend, the Bengals probably aren't working. Monday, Mike Brown's probably like it's a holiday, but I think they might practice still. Who knows?
Hey, our buddy Bengals and Bourbon said it best. What better day to get a deal done than 9-1?
I was going to say, don't forget what tomorrow is.
What is tomorrow?
9-1.
9-1, no. Yeah.
What you just said.
Tomorrow. Shit.
No.
Tomorrow.
No, Parker, the real reason is the Bengals watched Bengals and Brews yesterday, and I made a guarantee to Dale here. If he's not signed before the season starts, out of Dale beer, like, hey, man, we need to help out our man Greg out so he doesn't have to empty his pocket or anything. So that's why.
Yeah, no, I'm just tired. Industries. There may have been alcoholic beverages deleted, and there was maybe too many of them, and then trying to do the elliptical today. God damn, I thought I was gonna fucking die this morning. So yeah, but we're here. And how you doing, Parker?
Oh, living the dream, man. College football is back. I'm on with the Brew Crew. Football must be back, baby. Football must be back.
We gotta start with the O-line, right? So we haven't had you on for a while. So let's just go all the way back to the first thing. Picking up Trent Brown in free agency to probably be the starting right tackle, especially right now with Mims out. We'll get to Mims next, but thoughts on Trent Brown?
Yeah, I wasn't, amped with that signing, but I think it was a good buffer signing, give Mims that time. I talked about that a lot. Just giving Mims that ability to kind of work in slowly, figure out his groove, figure out the NFL game, the speed, and be able to step in fully ready. I still think Mims is the starter by week 18, week 17, whatever it is. But I like Trent Brown as kind of that stopgap guy that kind of provides that cushion. And I think either way, one of those guys is going to be an awesome six man that you can use in those jumbo sets.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and that's going to be fun, man, because they're all huge. You got Orlando at like 6'8", Trent Brown at like 6'8". Mims, it says he's 6'8". He looks like he's about 7 feet tall, especially when he puts the hair up. So we'll go to Mims next. They drafted Mims. Obviously, for me, it was always, hey, the talent's there. You can see it. You just haven't seen a ton of it. So kind of sucked that he got injured. He's looked pretty good in camp, I think, up to that point, and a first good preseason game. Thoughts on Amarius Mims, and were you happy with that pick at 18?
Yeah, no, I said, the whole process is probably wouldn't have been my pick just because I'm a big floor guy, right? You want to draft a guy based on what he's showing you, what he can bring to the league day one. But I always like Mims as kind of that upside pick. And that's why, pairing it with a pickup like Trent Brown, I think it was a smart move. I think it was the right move in that scenario. I'm excited to see him kind of reach his full potential and what he can turn into. It's good to get, Pollock, a guy that he can now work with and mold into what he wants him to be. Like I kind of posted about at the end of the preseason, it kind of feels like they've gotten through this first phase of the O-line turnover that I've talked about the last couple of years. When you're turning over a whole room, it takes a lot of different things to make that happen, and it's not like an overnight thing you can do. But I think kind of getting Mims in, and even Trent Brown as that stopgap guy, gets them to this bigger size profile that they've been trying to work towards, helps with the gap scheme stuff that they've been shifting to. But also getting a guy that has that athletic ability, and again, that just high ceiling upside type player. I think Mims is going to be a staple for a while. And kind of fits that Orlando Brown, even like the Cordell Volson mold of just getting these bigger bodies up front, but that can also move around a little bit. So
Yeah.
You guys want to ask anything, or you want me to just keep
rattling
everything off?
I really like the signing that they ended up, one of the last guys that they got in as the I guess they signed him to his practice squad, right? The Manning guy. And I was wanting to get your thoughts on
from Kentucky.
Yeah, I was wanting to get your thoughts on him and what you've kind of seen from him, if you've gotten the chance to study him at all.
Yeah, no, Manning was a guy, Sean Manning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was a guy that I was actually talking with Garrett about that on the timeline.
He's a Kentucky fan. Of course.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I had to make sure. I know the man. Don't worry. I watched the man. Don't worry. No, but no, I was kind of, he was a hard eval for me. I felt like he was just really inconsistent. But I kind of leaned towards our guy Jared, my guy Jared, I should say, because he was really high on his upside, his potential. So I think if that works out, it's going to be a great stash, a guy that you can still develop on the back end, and again allow to fill in. I know they got a couple guys leaving or due for contracts here soon, so that's another guy that's again good to help with that turnover and work into the rotation. So.
Parker, Matt Lee, I think it's safe to say this guy could be a steal for us. I guess he doesn't fit the big body type of center, because I think one knock with him is he can only play center, but I'm fine with that. If that's the only position you can play and you're damn good at it, which he's been this preseason, then just stick with center. That's cool. What is your take on Matt Lee? And do you think he fits what Frank Pollock's looking for necessarily?
Yeah, no, it's funny because there's a bunch of different ways you can build your O-line room or even just that starting five. And it feels like with the Matt Lee signing or draft pick, I should say, I mean, they're kind of going for that Eagles approach where we can get massive tackles, we can get massive guards, and we can have a smaller, more athletic center that can help move around. And Matt Lee's a smart guy. I think if you watch his film when he's down in Miami, and he was able to kind of, direct traffic up front, ID stuff, and kind of just do all the things you want your center to do. I've always talked about how I feel like center is such an undervalued position in the league. Teams feel like they can just bump guys in there and just let them fill in, and they can just load that, kind of workload onto the quarterback pre-snap. But having a guy that can get in there, I mean, like Ted Karras and now, hopefully Matt Lee for the future, it's put the mountains around him to help with some of those bigger D tackles, but then allow a guy that he's great in space and he's a smart guy. I think it's a great pickup. I thought 7th round was a little late, but I had him as a day 3 steal type guy, so I'm excited for him. Ohio State did something almost, it looks like.
Yes,
almost.
Sorry. You could literally just read Derek's body.
Yeah, I was going to say, just watch there.
He was right there, and that was actually a great. Oh, did he? He got – okay, so question. The hand came down first in the end zone. Is that a touchdown in college?
Just the hand, not the elbow or anything? How did this man catch the ball and with his hand?
Yeah, what, was he catching it sideways?
Emeka Egbuka literally caught the football, got hammered as he was going down. His weight got forced out of bounds, but he was able to get his hand in the end zone. Looked like the elbow might have touched.
Well, if he's running,
I'll
with
say
the ball,
if it's a catch and the crosses,
yeah. At first, I'm thinking, how did this man catch the ball in the end zone and just got a hand down?
He jumped up for it, caught it in the air, got hammered, like pushed out,
like
and then the hand and elbow came down.
No, I was actually going to say, we do call him Peter Parker Blake.
Yes.
So you could get up and show us how one and get one hand in an end zone, that'd be pretty incredible, Parker. That'd be good content right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of
I had anywhere near the core strength for that.
So before we go a little farther with O-line, there's still some more guys I want to talk about and some other things just in general with the Bengals. But what are you going to be doing? Speaking of content, got cooking this year. It's storming here, by the way. So if you guys hear that, that's here outside.
Yeah, no, it's I'm really hoping to dive in this year. I've set some stuff up. I got on with the Right Sports Network with Malik, helping out with kind of that morning show, doing some writing for them. I've actually gotten into a situation where I have a lot more, time to kind of get into my football stuff. So I'm hoping to do, help out with that show and build that brand. And then I also got on with my man, John Vogel, big draft guy. I actually was able to finally meet him in person in Mobile this year. So we're going to do a lot of college football and just draft coverage in general together. on his show a couple times a week, 2 times a week. And then just on my own end, I'm going to be doing my Bengals grades as always. Full grades are going to be, for my subscribers on Twitter or X or whatever. And then I'll be doing just kind of my own draft coverage, just kind of splitting between putting some bigger guys on the bigger names on the timeline. And then kind of my board as I update it through the year will be for my subscribers, and I'll release that towards the end of the year. But that's kind of like the base plan. And then I got a couple ideas for projects still in the works that I'll be rolling out as they come. But that's kind of the base of what we're doing.
Awesome. And I'm
So
sure
it sounds
everybody
like you got a
listening
lot of
follows
free
Parker.
time.
I do as of right now. I got a lot of free time. So.
Don't sound like you're about to, though.
Yeah.
Hey, Parker, you know what you ought to do with that free time? Fly to Cincinnati, Midwest Best Barbecue, and 50 West Beer, proud sponsors of our show. It's worth all the free time in the world, buddy. Just the flight might be a little bit of a chaos, but it's all worth it, buddy.
Hey, Greg, firsthand how that airport looks. So
Yeah. My car was, so for those of you who don't know, I was asked to pick up Parker and his wife from the airport once. I'm like, how hard could it be? People were asking me, Greg, you know what you're doing? I'm like, man, I'm not 3 years old. I can figure it out. And top of it, my car was low on gas. I was driving around like a maniac. I was ready to freaking explode and all that and stuff. I don't even know how the hell I found him and his wife. I just got lucky. I was at the right place for the time. But I'm sorry, I was a little late, but I managed to make it there.
it was a good time. It was a good time.
Derek's intentionally watching this touchdown by the Buckeyes. Jeremiah Smith, right?
Yep.
I just have this. I have no
you-
TV. I literally got like the ESPN app. Thing,
Yeah.
Just
but
that's definitely not the way to watch football. It's
back
just
shoulder
watch
fade
that.
in the front corner of the end zone. That was a good ball, good placement, good catch.
But
But anyway,
Saturday chug, Greg, of the Midwest Best Barbecue. You're saving that for later.
let's do it now. Who said that later?
Let's
And
do it
David
now.
Bolton from Alabama, baby.
I was
Outside.
going to say I didn't get to watch the Clemson Georgia game. How'd that one go?
I actually took a nap before the show started. Once again,
Me too.
a lot
I
of
was
beverages. So I missed the end of that game, but I was watching it. It was on. Georgia
Yeah.
won. That's all I know.
Well, if you
It's
watched
kinda
the first
boring,
half, you
most
saw
of
the
it.
second half. So
It was so boring that I think that's why
Yeah.
I fell asleep.
Oh,
that was a good game to watch because there's some good trench play in that game. But outside of, I was watching the Sky View because that game really wasn't worth watching. I just wanted to get a better angle of things.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. So
Oh, man, you got a fan
going-
here too, man. Gravy.
So circling back to offensive line a little bit, I was wanting to get your take. Do you think that Cordell Volson has another level? Do you think you could see him potentially becoming a better lineman than a better guard than what he's been, or do you think what we've seen from him the last 3 years has kind of been, what we're going to get?
yeah, no, I feel like I spent like the first 2 years of his career telling everybody like, hey, I mean, you're coming from a run-heavy offense into a pass-heavy offense. That's going to take some transition.
Mhm.
And then even just, I mean, being a rookie and getting thrown into the mix, he was a fourth-round guy, FCS guy. There's a lot of change and a lot of adjustment he had to go through. I told everybody, I mean, year 3 is going to be when you find out who he really is. That's kind of when a lot of, especially these smaller ball offensive linemen get in there and are able to actually catch up to the game, and really you can see where their ceiling, where their potential actually lies. I mean, the flashes we get this year are going to show us where his ceiling is, but I think, this is going to be the year, and I think we saw that a little bit in the preseason, or even the back half of last year. And I've said for a while now, year 3 is going to be the year to actually evaluate him, and he's looked good, in the 8 plays we're able to see. I was really excited. So I think he showed flashes down the back end last year, like I said. And so I'm excited to see really what I've been telling people for a while finally come to fruition and have people not be so impatient for it now. So,
And is there a weakness, potential weakness on this line, or the biggest concern for you that you're maybe wondering out of that starting 5 for right now?
the biggest concern for me right now is just kind of some of the older guys out of this group are kind of hitting that line where it's like you're either going to start regressing or you're going to plateau before you start dropping off. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for, especially out of like, the Karis Kappa and then Trent Brown, kind of see what they look like this year. I know everyone talked about the health concerns for Trent Brown and kind of his availability throughout the year. And that's why it's good to have Mims behind him, even though he might have some similar concerns for some people. But I think that's just my biggest concern. How do those three look, and are they able to, kind of keep up the level of play we've seen until we're able to bring guys in that can start kind of pushing for those jobs? Or are we going to see some kind of micro regressions? Hopefully nothing too crazy. That's kind of just my concern as you get guys hitting that kind of age range or just, level of experience. Are you going to plateau, drop off, or keep, playing at that relatively high level? So.
Hey, Parker, I want to talk about Cap a little bit. Obviously, he had a bit of a down year last year. I know we had some people in our chat at times a little worried about Kappa. Are you really are you concerned for Cap at all this year, or do you think he'll be fine?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people kind of hating on Kappa towards the end of the year, and I feel like it's kind of that Jonah Williams effect where when you come in, you're kind of that top guy in the group or a top 3 guy in the group, and then as you kind of keep replacing pieces and keep improving the overall group, you might slide down the order, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily getting worse. It just means the talent around you is getting better. I didn't see a crazy drop off from him. He still looks like the player I thought he was that first year in Cincinnati. You got to know what he can give you and what he can't. He's not a very well-rounded player. He's really good at what he's good at, and then he's just not great at what he's not. So if you're aware of kind of those strengths and weaknesses, I don't think it was crazy surprising. I think it was just kind of a little more shell shock for people because when he came in, he was like, oh, wow, this is a great addition, great piece. Mm-hmm. I still think he is. I just think, they brought in some other pieces and other players have kind of leveled up where it's like, oh, wow, he's kind of the weak link, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's bad. It is okay. I know Bengals fans aren't used to it, but it's okay to have 5 pretty good offensive linemen.
yeah, exactly.
It will be nice. Go ahead, Derek, and then
I was just going to say before we get I wanted to sidebar a little bit right now because that freaking picture back behind you right now, Parker, is one of the most elite. How big is that thing?
I think I printed it. Hold on. I think it's I can't even remember now. It's got to be like what 24 by 24 or something like that. 30 by 24.
Yeah, that thing is elite.
One
of the best photos I think I've ever seen. And was it Sean Green? Was he the one that took that picture? I can't remember now. The Bengals.
I couldn't tell you, but shout out to whoever took it.
Yeah, it was some girl, and I kept trying to give her credit.
Oh, okay.
I DM'd her and was like, "Hey, can I use this or whatever?" And so I'm waiting for someone to hop in my DMs and be like, "You better take that down." I haven't had that yet. So.
I love it. Now, Dalton wants to know. He says, Say Kappa has issues or gets injured, do you think they would consider swinging Karras to right guard and put Matt Lee in at center?
I've seen a lot of people talk about that, and I really don't know. I can see them moving Karras, but it's also kind of one of those things that I always talk about, right? Where it's the chemistry and getting in a rhythm, and especially with that center position, you don't necessarily want to be moving that guy around a lot. Personally, I'd prefer throwing somebody else in at guard or even potentially, the thing that excites people the most if you're bumping Trent Brown down in and bringing Amarius Mims to the tackle position. But that's kind of the path that I would prefer them taking instead of moving Karras. I know a lot of people keep talking about, move Karras here, move Karras there, but I think he's done a great job of, again, directing traffic up front as a center should, and then kind of being a staple there. And again, I don't know if he really fits the size profile they're looking for out of that position. So you bring in not only a smaller guard in Karras, but then an even smaller center, with Lee is kind of like he's kind of going backwards. So I'd rather see them kind of bump other guys around and leave the pieces in the spots that they are comfortable in and they're used to, instead of you don't want to necessarily move 2 pieces, right? It's the same thing as far as when you're replacing guys. You don't want to replace 2 guys, when you don't have to. So if you're only moving 1 piece around, that's a lot easier to handle.
And we all know who it'd be. It'd be Cody Ford. He'll be your first guy in there. He'd probably be the guy they put in at right guard. And say what you want about him. I guess he's a veteran guy, and he didn't do awful last year when he had to fill in. And I think he's not a tackle, and he had to fill in at tackle some. So I do kind of like him a little bit better at guard. But another guy at guard that really can play tackle as well and really earned his way on the roster, and I'm really excited for how he looked at left guard, left tackle, right tackle, 3 different preseason games, 3 different positions, and that's Jackson Kirkland. Undrafted guy, 2nd year in the league, was on our practice squad last year, came out of Washington. I think he was a little older prospect. I think he dealt with some injury.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it was Dale that cut out this time.
I thought it was me at first.
Normally it's me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He did say that he had a little bit of weather issues. So, Parker, I think you kind of got the gist of what he was asking. What's your thoughts on Jackson Kirkland?
Yeah, no, Kirkland's a guy I actually really liked last preseason, and I was glad they were able to keep around. Him and Ben Brown were the two guys I was really pushing for last year. Obviously, Brent Brown had some injury issues and then ended up in Seattle. But I'm really glad they were able to stash Kirkland. And I love that he's able to work because I know he snapped a little bit last year to practices and was mostly a guard. But then I know Frank Pollock started talking about how much he really loved what he was showing at tackle. That's kind of, I think, what pushed Carmen out of the building. But I really, really do love what Kirkland's able to do out there. I think he looks really good. I love what he did last year. I think he took even another step this year, and kind of the flexibility he's able to provide. He's got that athletic ability that they're kind of looking for in the second phase. Still has a decent size profile. I'd still like him more at guard. I don't love him as a tackle, but just the fact that he was able to do both at a high level throughout the preseason shows a lot of good promise. Where I'm not really. Again, I think we talked a lot about the last couple of years, kind of the depth in this room, but I have a lot of faith in what Kirkland's going to be able to do as a depth piece, and hopefully, moving up and hopefully getting a spot here in next couple of years, unless they bring in better talent, obviously. But I'm a big fan of Kirkland.
Yeah, so Parker, I looked up the top guards in the league. Quentin Nelson, who's the guy for the Cowboys? What's Zach Martin? The two good guards for the Browns. All of them are 6'4". Why is it the Bengals try to get these massive 6'7" guys every year? It just seems trying to guard it. Clearly, it doesn't work. Is it usually not a good idea to have a really big, tall dude at guard at times? It just seems like the best guards in the league are either 6'4" or smaller.
Yeah, well, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to build your O line, especially your starting five.
Right.
And when you're planning on just being super athletic at that center position, no matter really the size, you want to bring in some bigger bodies on the interior, especially when you're a higher volume passing team. That way it's easier to kind of build that wall up front. I think the reason you see kind of these smaller guys be more effective as guards, it's not saying that the bigger guys can't, but it's more you have that natural leverage. You're usually going to be more athletic, so you're going to move a little bit better on the interior or out in space. And the bigger guys just, you're not going to have that leverage ability. You're going to usually have better length, so you're actually going to hold that better in protection. But in the run game, you're still going to have your struggles. That's why, I've been a big fan of Cordell Volson because he has that size, but being out of, North Dakota State, he's able to really maximize his leverage and get under guys and generate that lift. So again, I think it's just more of what you want to see out of your front five and what they're going to be majoring in. But the Bengals are obviously going to be pass protectors first. And so it's okay to have some of those bigger guys because they're going to have better anchors with the bigger body, more mass. And they're also going to have better length so they can, create more lift when they're in protection and trying to anchor in. So it's all about just, the scheme you're trying to run and what you're trying to build up front long term. But yeah, those top end guys are usually in that 6'4", 6'5" range, and they're right around 300, right on the border being called undersized because it's a 2 in the front, not a 3. But I think, the more mass, more play strength, you're never going to complain. So
now I don't know. It's looking like Dale might have lost power, but so hopefully that situation gets taken care of soon. I was wanting to ask you. I know we were doing a lot of O-line talk, but we got actually a pretty tough test coming up with Ramondre Stevenson, and I was wanting to get your thought on the hog mollies up front on the other side of the ball. And do you think we will be any better against the run this year?
Well, yeah, and it's a hard game to play, right? Because I think my biggest issue with the defensive line last year was just generating pressure, right? And the run game's a whole different conversation, obviously. But they brought in a lot of guys that I think are going to improve that realm of the equation, I guess you can say, where they're going to be able to generate pressure in the pass game. And there are situations where sometimes your best run defense is just having an explosive offense that forces teams to throw on you. So it might really just be a situation like some of these other teams around the AFC where you're not necessarily as worried of stopping the run. You're just going to try and force teams to get into shootouts with you if they want to hang with you. And I think the Bengals have a lot of faith in their linebackers. I think the biggest issue in the run game last year was really they were allowing a lot of free blockers to get to the second level. They were allowing a lot of guys to kind of get involved and get in the way. They weren't able to really lock down multiple offensive linemen at a time. But I think guys like Sheldon Rakins can kind of do both pretty well. I'm excited to see BJ Hill take another step. I think he has one more in him. It's just about if he can unlock that, just opening up his run defense. We already know he's pretty good in the pass game, but kind of seeing what he can do. But I'm hoping, I think it's kind of everyone that pays attention knows that this is going to be a pretty good defensive interior draft class. And, looking down the stretch, those guys never really go too early. So you might be able to snag some actually pretty good talent on the interior that's going to be pretty young coming out. So I'm hoping kind of in the next cycle to worry about that. But as far as this season's concerned, I'm still not necessarily worried about the run defense, even though we are in the AFC North, and that's going to be a problem in certain games. But again, I think sometimes your best run defense can be just an explosive offense. So
my power went out. So as I was talking, what you guys didn't hear because the power went out, I said, and fuck me, my electric went out.
I don't know.
That was the last thing I would have said because it just went out and then just came out of my mouth. But yeah. So anyways, what are we talking about? D-line?
Yeah, we flipped to the defensive side of the ball, and we were starting with the hog mollies up front, but going even further back and talking a little bit about the linebackers. I know they had a down year last year, but it seems like from everything we're hearing, it looks like they're kind of back to form. I was going to get your thoughts on the linebackers, and then the new guy we got, Muma Jometa. Gosh.
Yes, sir.
I worked on that and worked on it, and then it just totally went blank. I forgot how to pronounce it, but
yeah, no, yeah. This linebacker room is really nice, and I'm kind of glad they kept 5. And I was really worried about that coming in. I was like, I know they kind of live in that 4-2-5 style defense, so keeping 5 linebackers can feel like a little bit of overkill. But giving yourself the ability to have some different personnel packages on the defensive side of the ball, maybe even roll out 4 linebackers at times, I think is going to provide a lot of opportunity for them. And like I said, kind of last season, my biggest issue with the linebackers was more that they just weren't able to do their job because they had offensive linemen coming downhill free. And I know if you watch Bengals games, the linebackers live more in coverage. They're not really designed to be run stoppers, though. I think there's one of the 2 linebackers that starts that's probably a little bit better in that aspect than the other. But I think at the end of the day, if you're able to keep your linebackers clean, the 2 guys they have starting back there are going to be pretty legit. But then Muma Jongmeta, I remember watching that first preseason game, and it was still the first defensive drive, and I posted, who's this 45 kid, man? This kid's on the screen every freaking play. And then everyone started posting the clips and did a little more digging and found who he was. I'm really glad he made the roster. He was a guy I really just love watching fly around. I know, people that love tracking the measurables and, the testing ability and all that stuff were kind of low on him. But what people don't understand at times is, sometimes your game speed's a lot different than your underwear Olympic speed. And I think he's a guy that just with his instincts and his ability to see the field, he's able to play a little bit faster than he's able to test. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. I hope he can be a piece here for a while.
Hey, Greg, did you see how when I had to sneeze, I muted my camera?
Yeah, no, Parker, when I pressed the wrong button, I go off. I sneeze very loud and all that and stuff. So I always push the wrong button. But Parker, I want to go back to the running backs.
Bless you, by the way.
I have to go back to the running backs here. So clearly, you and Dale are bigger draft experts than I am, but I think the Bengals listen to me somewhat because I said Yoshi and they got Yoshi. There was this running back that I really wanted badly, but we didn't get him, and the Eagles got him, and they cut him, Kendall Milton, because I guarantee the Bengals were saying, you know what, Greg was right about Yoshi. This was one of his Yoshi players. Let's go get Kendall Milton. Dude, we struggled a lot in short yard situations at times last year. And you look at Milton, man. I mean, it takes like 3 guys to get him down. He just bulldozes people down. What do you think Kendall Milton could make a big impact as a rookie? I know he's on the practice squad, but still.
For sure. No, I think Milton's an interesting pickup just because I feel like he's kind of like he's just a younger version of Travion Williams, where he's kind of that blend between the power back and the speed back. He's not going to be too explosive in either aspect, but he's going to be a great guy, over the long term that can kind of give these guys a spell in any situation, kind of just that flex guy where it's like if a guy goes down or if they need just to give a break to the 2 main guys, they can throw him in those situations. Obviously, like you said, he's on the practice squad, and Travion's still that guy. But I think, if he can show that he has some of that return ability and kind of replace Travion, that could be the path forward. But I mean, when you're looking at Chase Brown and Zach Moss, I think they're very different styles of backs. And so Milton and Williams are kind of the meet in the middle style guys where it's like we can really fill out this room and feel confident with all 4 guys that we have available. I wasn't a huge fan of Milton coming out, but like I said, he's a very balanced back that I think can just be a consistent presence. He's very consistent in what he does. It's just, again, one of those guys you're going to have to – I expect to get this out of him. I can't put the bar too high because he's just never going to get there. But overall, I think he's a solid back.
Yeah, he's listed at like 225. And I definitely think, if they're struggling with short yardage, that's when he could come up and, at minimum do that role. But a lot of times they got to trust you enough for the pass blocking and things like that if they even going to activate you. So that'll be whether he can get on the field, how quick he learns, their system, what they want him doing, if there's any faith in him. I obviously expect the two-headed monster this year with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Almost said Zach Brown band.
There we go.
That's a T-shirt, Chop.
Get your toes in the water, baby.
Yeah, T. Brookie's wanting to know why are there so many torn pec injuries lately? He says he never saw them like 15 years ago.
Well, in my opinion, I'm no doctor. I'm not one of these Twitter doctors. But
you look like you are a doctor with that hair. You're laying in your hospital bed. This beautiful hair walks in. You're like, oh God, this is a porn doctor. He's a porn doctor.
I was going to say, doctor. What was the dude? What they call him? McDreamy or something like that on Grey's Anatomy.
McSteamy. They had all that.
Yeah, that one too.
No, but I think it's more of a speed of the game thing. When everything used to be so downhill and kind of just straight up, it was you weren't really getting a lot of that lateral movement. But now with the game being so not only a faster game, more explosive game, but with all the side to side movement, you can get a lateral, whether it's stretching the field laterally or just making these moves. And I think you're just getting a lot of guys that are playing out of their frame, which isn't necessarily bad depending on your position. But it's also you have to make sure you're prehabbing and training those muscles and developing those muscles in the proper way. And some of these strength and conditioning coaches some of them are caught up with the times, some of them are a little still behind some of those new developments and working out that stuff. So that's all it is. You're going to see kind of like you say the last 15 years, every like 10, 20 year cycles, you're going to see some of these weird injuries pop up. I mean, we're also not seeing some of the same injuries we saw back then just because we've developed out of those. But yeah.
I gotta ask an important question to this question. Greg, did you hop in the chat or something? Are you W. Lewis? Are you wanting to know what kind of product you use? Because
I know my barber already gave me a product to use. So.
Oh, Greg's got that fancy stuff though.
Yeah.
No, my barber. Because like my mom wanted me to cut the mullet. So Parker, long story short, I said on the Bruce show that I was cutting the mullet, and everybody was ready to freaking come after me, saying if the Bengals don't win the Super Bowl, it's all because of me. And so I jokingly said I was kidding, but I really was being serious because Dale asked me like, "Greg, you were being serious." I'm like, "Yes, I was," and all that. But no, I kept the mullet.
Suck it, Mom.
No. I love you, Mom. I love you.
God, I hope your mom don't watch this show.
Yeah, no. We love you,
but she can suck it. Hey, come on, man! That one was right there. I had to do it.
But I was going to go find his milk in the fridge. It's cold glass of milk. So
I got plenty of milk in the fridge, man.
I know. Trust me, I know.
we're all aware of the milk in the.
Hey, Parker! I bought some ass in the last couple of days. They had Graders. I was at Graders the right time. I got plenty of ass in the freezer.
And I'd be careful going out in public saying you've been buying some ass.
Jeff tried when Strawberry Ice was on the show. He didn't understand what that was, and he was looking at me like, "What?"
Oh man.
Yeah. Go back. Maybe you guys talked about this when you were talking D-line when I wasn't on here, but the KJ Henry pickup it has me a little excited. Out of Washington, second-year guy, Clemson guy. He seems to have some good size, a little bit of pass rush juice, but I feel like he could be a guy that could contribute, especially, more so maybe the Cam Sample role. I think him and Cedric Jackson are both kind of competing to be maybe a guy there for some rotational snaps. What's your thought on Henry and then also Cedric Jackson, the rookie out of Ole Miss?
Like you said, I feel like KJ Henry's a guy that can be kind of that flex 3 tech that can kind of bump in on those pass rushing downs and provide you some juice. But I also feel like he's kind of got a wider tool set that he can still be kind of, effective in the run game and be a solid just overall depth piece where I feel like I just totally blanked on his name. The Ole Miss kid.
Cedric Johnson.
Jeez. I feel like he's more of a pass rush, not necessarily specialist, but that's kind of just the side of the ball he leans to. I worry about his ability in the run game as far as shedding blocks. I'm not worried about really his anchor. I don't think he has great hands as far as getting off of run blocks as much as he does kind of beating that edge and getting hands off of him. But that's just, that's just my opinion. But I feel like one of them is more of a D end only, and the other one is kind of can be that flex guy on some of those longer downs.
Burke with the pick.
Oh, I was like, Ohio State did something good. If you're just watching Derek's body language as your Ohio State updates, but we don't necessarily know what they are, so then we got to get it.
You just know the vibes. Is it good or is it bad? That's all we know.
Yeah, right. No, that was a good. The guy caught it. He just completely ripped it out of his hands.
Nice. And he's looking to try to, be a first round pick. Is why he kind of came back. So, he's trying to have a big season for the Ohio State Buckeyes. The secondary, the corners. So Dax Hill, I can never sit here and lie and say that I was not very skeptical, and still am, honestly, because we have not played one regular season game with Dax Hill at outside corner. I think he's a slot corner and a safety, but I'm very impressed in what I saw from him during the preseason, and all the reports out of camp seem to be positive. I know he's got the athleticism for it and the size to where he could really turn into a really good corner. What are your thoughts on Dax Hill at outside corner, and has he impressed you as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, first off, I feel like they're building this defensive back room to be just some of the craziest zone defense that we can see with all the range and the athleticism that they're bringing into that room. I feel like they're going to be able to sit back and, kind of bait some teams into some easy plays for the defense, especially if they can generate some good pass rush. I feel like, I was kind of on the side of, Dax Hill always felt like a better corner. I did like his range when he's back, as a safety, but I also really like his upside as a corner. It's just all about, again, if he can kind of figure that out and be able to handle kind of some of this physical wide receiver play when he's going to be down closer to the action, one might say. But I do like the upside. I do want to say I've heard a lot of people talking about kind of his future extension and kind of the future of his contract. And just keep in mind, I feel like a lot of people are saying, oh, well, now he's going to be a corner. He's going to be more expensive and this and that. And when you're looking to extend a guy like that, he still is as good of a player as he's been. He doesn't have a ton of accolades to go along kind of with his career so far, which actually works in the Bengals' favor because when you're going to those contract extension conversations, you're looking at, he was a first-round pick, so you got to factor that in. He's been a long-term contributor even through the position change. You got to factor that in. But then after that, it's kind of like, it's still kind of wide open. So that should keep the price down. So he should be able to be a part of this team for a while still. And I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do as a corner. But overall, I think this corner room is really deep. I think it's underrated. There's a list of guys that I feel like you can go down and really be excited about. So the fact that he's able to carve out kind of his own niche in that room kind of has me excited. And I kind of like where he could go, but I agree with you. I want to see him kind of get some regular season action, especially in the division with some of these, I guess they're turning into smaller receivers now at this rate. I mean, no one's bringing in size anymore, but I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with just that raw athleticism that he has. And, just kind of his vision. He's got really great field vision as a defensive back. So.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. And I feel like, if Dax is struggling at all, having DJ Turner, who was the starter last year, basically, the whole season, is nice depth and nice to have. So I like our depth there. Josh Newton's another guy they brought in that's looked pretty good. And then I guess we should go ahead and cover the safeties before we maybe get a little New England and then get out of here today. But in the safety room, bringing back Von Bell, bringing in Geno Stone, I feel like good veteran moves, but I still feel like there's got to be a role for Jordan Battle. What are your thoughts on kind of those three guys? And I definitely think communication will improve.
I think the depth that we're seeing in this defensive back room overall is starting to lean towards we have to count that at some point Hilton's gonna be gone, whether he retires or just moves on, like whatever.
Last year of his deal this year.
Yeah, I know. So I think it's more let's bring in some guys that can kind of all get reps at that nickel position and just see how that works out, whether it's, again, certain personnel packages or if they're going to be able to be flex corner safeties for a minute and can show potential. Dijon Anthony is another great example of a guy that can kind of play that Trey Flowers role, I think, a little bit better than anybody else in that room with a bigger body and more physical player. So I think, Jordan Battle's a guy I really liked. I want to see get reps, but it's starting to get really hard. I'm interested to see it because I know we've heard that Lou doesn't like just always rotating these defensive backs in or forcing guys to get reps. He'd rather leave kind of that core group in and let them all fly around. But I think Jordan Battle being the physical player that he can be, I really love seeing him out there. I think Geno Stone's a great playmaking safety.
Yeah.
I think Von Bell's probably a temporary fix. I think we all can feel that way. And so Jordan Battle's probably just a longer-term play at that safety spot. I think it's more, Dejon Anthony, Dax Hill, maybe Jordan Battle in that conversation, but I think he's going to be more of a long-term safety option. And I really like what he's able to put on the film last year.
Yeah, and I do wonder if they'll try to even have Vaughn and Jordan out there some this year because, as you mentioned, Geno Stone is not, you mentioned that he's good against the pass. He's just not good against the run. I'll say
no,
it. Parker
he's the high safety. Jordan Battle's that guy that can be more physical, lower in the box.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, if you're facing a Derrick Henry who's now with the Ravens, if Jordan Battle might not rotate in there with Von Bell at times if they're trying to go a little run heavy. But we could see some stuff like that. And then moving on to New England, what are your thoughts? What's your most exciting matchups? I mean, you're a trenches guy, so I'm sure maybe there's something in the trenches. But overall, any positions, who's a matchup or two you really like for that game?
Well, Onwenu was one of the guys that I was really advocating for in free agency. So I'm just kind of excited to see what he's able to do and kind of how this Bengals defensive line is able to, generate pressure and cause problems for the Patriots offensive line. Obviously, we have, all of the quarterback conversation. We're getting Jacoby, but will that be the whole game? Is it going to be, he gets rotated out? I assume that's not going to happen. They seem pretty committed to him, but kind of just that stuff. And then I do feel like this Patriots receiver room can be interesting. They have, again, it's really high ceiling room, but also really low floor room, in my opinion. They have some pretty good athletes out there that are I'm kind of interested to watch, but also you got to be able to get them the ball and they have to be able to get open. So as far as kind of containing that, and obviously this Patriots defense is pretty stout. They're not necessarily always getting these big name guys, but they always find a way to generate production up front. So it'll be a great first week matchup, in my opinion, for the Bengals offensive line. Not necessarily any big, problem causers up front, but just guys that are going to be pretty, stout, pretty. They're going to execute at a high level. That's what I was looking for. So I'm just that trench battle back and forth. Nothing crazy notable, but also super interesting to watch. Just A, is Cordell Volson going to make that jump? B, how does Trent Brown look in the former team, had issues with the team? That could be just kind of fun to watch. And then Onwenu on the other side. But it's really a fun trench matchup. I don't expect any huge issues, but this Patriots team's they're always kind of stubborn. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and he's with you there. And that's an underrated thing there. If Barmore is out and not playing, I mean, he's such a good player on their interior. I guess on the flip side of that, I'm more interested in our run defense against Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
Just because it was such a big problem last year that we could not stop the run. So I just want to see it improve. And losing DJ Reader on paper, it's like, where is it going to improve? McKinley Jackson's out. But it's just going to have to be everybody. And, the defense out there making plays all camp. So it'll be fun to see how it all comes together starting next Sunday.
Well, kind of like we talked about. Oh, yeah, we're right there. We're right there.
Right there.
But like we talked about earlier, I think this is going to be a perfect example of if the Bengals offense is actually able to get into a groove week one, like they, refuse to usually. If they're able to generate the explosive plays, generate some really good offense early on in that game, you're not really going to have to worry about that run defense later on unless they're really gashing us, which I still have faith in the linebackers to handle that. So,
Speaking of the Pats game coming up.
Speaking of gashes.
Our guys over in Enter the Jungle, gosh, I was say that's 5 times fast, was talking about Jermaine Burton and having a deeper knowledge of the playbook. It will help him find reps with the first team. Do you think that there's a chance that he's a healthy scratch on week one, or do you think they're going to input him in some plays, or what do you see the playbook looking like for Jermaine Burton this week or next week?
I'm super interested to see what his role on special teams is. Like, is he going to be the returner, or are they going to leave Travion and Charlie back there? I think that's his immediate path to the field. I really like what they'd be able to do with a lot of the different personnel they have in that wide receiver room, but I don't see Jermaine Burton have a crazy early impact outside of, any crazy injuries, fingers crossed that, hopefully don't happen. Him kind of working on the field that way. But I think his earliest impact is going to be on special teams. I wouldn't expect to see, honestly, anything crazy from him just this year. I think they feel really good about Yoshi. I really liked what I saw out of him in the preseason. I keep joking that he's that Stanley Morgan replacement that's going to be able to kind of be that pseudo fullback on the perimeter run game, or in kind of like the bubble screens they were showing a lot early last year. He looks really physical. He looks a lot stronger. He looks a significant amount bigger. He actually catches with his hands now. Looks like he's got some good, body control and hand strength. So I'm excited to see a jump from him. And I really think it's going to come down to they're going to like Trent Irwin more. He's going to be the vet that has the chemistry. And so it's after that, kind of in that same battle for the, wide receiver 4 spot, it's going to be that Irwin, Jones, Burton. Who do they like more out of that group when they go 4 wide? I assume it's going to be Irwin early on. But I think as we get later into the season, that's going to be the spot where Burton's really able to carve out a role if they're not going to use a tight end out there, because I know, Mike Gesicki's still in town.
Yeah, and speaking of the tight ends, what are your thoughts on, 5 tight ends? We're always telling them year after year, like, what are we going to do at the tight end position? Well, they answered it. They drafted 2. They got one guy on a UDFA. I can't remember his name right now. But what's your thoughts on the tight ends?
Yeah, I know me and Dale talked a little bit about Eric All and Tanner McLaughlin. Those are two of my favorite tight ends in this class, and they were able to get both. So that always feels like an awesome win just for me, because I'm like, oh, they finally got guys that I was really high on. I think those are kind of the long-term guys in my view. I think I think we all know kind of Gesicki's that stopgap guy. That's just kind of they wanted to get in to make sure they had a guy, kind of that veteran presence. Especially he's more of a receiving threat. We've all seen the practice clips. He does not look great as a blocker in the box. I think he can be fine in the perimeter. But I think Sample's going to be, probably a higher volume guy in this entire group. But I'm excited to see Eric All and McLaughlin work their way in. I've been wondering if Gesicki, if there was a couple of rough weeks here and there, if you could kind of have that Irv Smith track where he kind of starts falling off towards the end of the year as these rookies work their way in, or if they kind of let these guys, if they just kept them all on the roster because they did think teams were going to be able to, scoop them up if they let them hit the wire. So they kept them on the roster to, stash them in a sense. And then they're more of a long-term play, because next year I do see that being year 1, 2, and 3. Tanner Hudson's a guy that I feel like you have Tanner Hudson and Tanner McLaughlin, the 2 Tanners that are very similar builds and very similar play styles, but one's, significantly younger and more athletic, has more explosiveness. I think McLaughlin kind of edges him out of the roster. And then I think, kind of him being the receiving threat, Eric All being a well-rounded guy, Sample being the blocking guy. You can let Gesicki go after this year. You can let, Hudson, whatever you want to do with him. If you want to keep 4, let him be a practice squad guy, or if he finds a different team. But I think they do have a good group with Drew Sample, Eric All, Tanner McLaughlin for at least the next couple of years. We'll see what happens with Sample long term.
And they kept Cam Grandy on the practice squad, so maybe that's a guy that they want to keep around for next year.
I think their practice squad says a lot. I think some teams they keep certain guys for various reasons, but I think the Bengals always keep guys that they want to retain for the future. They use that as a stash spot, not necessarily, depth pieces as far as like, oh, we want to see what this guy can do, but it's guys that they feel confident in, and
Jackson
they want to.
Kirkland, prime example.
Kirkland's a prime example.
So speaking of practice squad, Justin Rogers, I really like that pickup from Auburn. Like I wasn't like super high on him. I had a 7th round grade on him. He went in the 7th round. But still, just the big body, nose tackle type dude that can take up a space eater and a run stuffer. I'm excited to have that in here in some capacity, at least on the practice squad for now.
Yeah, Justin Rogers was the guy when I was evaluating him that just felt, again, I think the biggest thing that makes guys the day 3 guys or the UDFAs is just consistency, right? Your first rounders are going to typically be more consistent, and you're going to know what you're going to get out of them, and they have that high ceiling. Then as you start getting down, you'll see the consistency start to waver. Justin Rogers is a guy where his flashes really were exciting to watch, but then those lows were like crazy, where he's getting knocked down by a single blocker. He's getting driven back.
And bro, you were listed at 352 last year.
Yeah, I'm like, how are you getting picked up and relocated, man? But again, those
Yeah.
flashes were awesome, and if he can just find a way to be more consistent, I know we all have a lot of faith in Hobby and what he's able to do with his guys, and so I'm excited to see what he's able to do with a guy with what I feel like his upside is. I don't think he's going to be this crazy. I don't think he's going to be a DJ Reader at any time, but
No,
I think he can be a fun guy that can kind of push, the two pals who I know is gone, and two Fele's are kind of out of that room. So
Zach Carter.
the Zach Carters.
That man just keeps on hanging on.
Man.
Hey, maybe he'll
Brandon-
flash this year, right?
Brandon Tate all over again.
Yeah, that's the Greg always calls that a Brandon Tate.
I am.
But Parker, I know you've probably been asked this. I'm sure I've asked you this on a couple past shows, but in the second round that year, after we drafted Chase, we took Carmen. Who was your top? Was it Creed Humphrey, or who was your top pick in the second round that you wanted? I wanted either the Notre Dame kid Eichenberg. That meant, I know he didn't pan out, but that was
I wanted Sam Cosby.
No, that was another one I liked.
I
Yeah,
like Cosme. I had Cosme as like a round 3 guy, but I was a really big fan of Sam Cosme. Creed Humphrey had a first round grade on, man. I will never understand how that dude is a freaking 63, 64, highest paid center in the league now. That one will always
Hire
be
him,
crazy.
Bengals. You need Parker Blake. You could have had Creed Humphrey.
It's just crazy, man. I just feel like, the center is such an underrated position in the league overall. But when you can find a guy like that, and again, it's the Oklahoma guy. Just go to Oklahoma and grab whoever's coming out that year.
You
I
wanted
know
Tyler
there's
Guyton, right? You like
There's
Tyler
been some
Guyton.
misses, but you got Tyler Guyton.
I was gonna say, we got Cody Ford and Orlando Brown.
We do, man. And look how they're doing. They're hanging on, man. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. But it's just, I always joke that, you're not supposed to helmet scout, but when I'm setting up my preliminary board, I'm just kind of going through watching games to see guys who flash. It's always the Iowa tape. It's always the Oklahoma tape. It's always these guys that are always churning out that talent, and their coaching staffs haven't turned over. Biedenbaugh is one of my favorite coaches. I've tried to style everything I've done, through my coaching career so far after what he's done. And every time I see clips of his, whether it's practices or clinics come out, I'm always, watching that a number of times. I've always been a big fan of what he's able to do. That's why I'm always, whenever there's Oklahoma tape, I'm always watching it, man. I love everybody that comes out of there. I know, again, there's hits and misses, but even these guys that are, like Guyton's, who are getting 1 year in there, they're still coming out like really, really good prospects. So,
Do you know who Will's talking about here? I'm drawing a blank.
offensive guard from Texas. Hold on.
No, guard from Texas Tech. Yeah, Leatherwood didn't pan out.
I wanted
Leatherwood's an Alabama guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. I don't have much else. You guys got another question? I mean, we've almost done an hour. I said if we did a half an hour,
I got
all this
one-
football on the television.
One important question for you, Parker, and then we'll get you out of here. Give us your score prediction. You will be the first official Bengals and Brews score prediction of the year.
Man, I suck at score predictions, man.
Chop's the one who's hit that mark 2 different times and won a boatload.
I know.
I feel like I always throw a score out, and like whatever I predict never happens. But again, I think we're gonna hope, right? We're gonna manifest that the Bengals offense is gonna figure it out week 1. We're gonna hope we can get a few touchdowns early and then grind that clock out. So I don't expect high scoring game, but I'd love the Bengals refuse to score 30 or more points. So we're
Are
gonna
you
go
talking
20
about Will Hernandez? Will Hernandez? Did he go to Texas Tech?
Hernandez.
No, he went to Texas, not Texas, UTEP.
Yeah, UTEP.
UTEP.
Is that who you're thinking of, Will? I don't know.
Might
I'm
be.
just trying,
Yeah.
like he said, a Latino last
Latino.
I liked Will Hernandez though.
He's a big body, man. Anyway, I want to say 28 points for the Bengals, and I'll hand the Patriots 17 just because you're early. You got a lot of new pieces. Ramondre Stevenson, if they're able to generate some, good field position and work their way up, I can see him breaking a couple solid runs out. So look at Dale go.
Dove deep for that one.
Yeah, man. I was just like, there was a Hernandez.
Elbow deep in the bag right there, brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right. Once again, tell everybody where they can take in your content, and then we'll go ahead and end this one. I appreciate you coming on here. Great as always, man.
Yes, no, I always love coming on here and chatting it up with the boys, especially when they're cheering for Ohio State, because I refuse to. I was raised not to.
I'm UC, man. Hey,
Derek said that Jeremiah Smith, my freshman I'm high on, wasn't doing well. Now that we've been on air, he scored 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All I had to do was talk shit about him, I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Parker. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's always at Parker Blake 60 on X. That's where I'll post everything that I do. I'm really bad at self-promotion, but that's where everything that I do is going to get thrown out there because that's where I send everybody to. Like I said, I am going to be on the morning show with Malik Wright, the sit down with Malik Wright a couple times a week. Our first show, I believe, is Monday morning. So
probably not in person though, right?
Look for that. I will not be in person, though. I told them, I'm like, you give me a date and I'll move out there. You let me know.
Yes.
Let's see how that
I
goes.
love to hear it. I love to hear it.
Well, we haven't cleared that with the wife yet, but she doesn't have to know.
If you need a house, ours might be for sale, but you still got to drive an hour.
I was going to say, Derek, he probably wants to actually be close to the things.
But Parker, I got to tell you something, man. I got to tell you something. 50 West, so they have a burger bar, and they go through like every state. One of my personal favorites is the Utah, man. Pastrami, Swiss, pickle, and a burger, and their fry sauce, which is so addicting. You definitely need to try. You and your wife definitely need to try that when you guys come out here.
I don't understand why the Utah burger is always pastrami. We got a couple of restaurants out here that have like a Utah burger, and it's always a pastrami. And I love me a pastrami burger.
I was going to say,
I've never understood the tie to Utah with a pastrami burger. I've never understood that. But again, yeah. So we're doing the morning show with Malik twice a week, a couple times a week, I think, and then my show with Draft Vogel. That'll be once or twice a week as well, just depending on how the schedule works out. So that's kind of the 2 shows I'm doing. Still writing for All Bengals with James Rapine, and then obviously posting on my X. So I'm keeping myself busy. Always, my DMs are always open. If there's any prospects you want me to take a look at, or just any questions, I always love talking ball, whether it's Bengals, college football, NFL in general, or just talking O-line play, D-line play. I'm a football guy. Hit me up.
Yeah, man, football, baby.
Yeah.
All right, Parker. Thank you so much, brother.
I appreciate all you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Who
Hey, brother.
And Parker's a great dude.
Awesome.
You guys got anything else?
No, I mean,
hey, UC, my quarterback for UC, man, has like 3 touchdowns. They're playing a college called Townsend. I don't even know where the hell that is. But I'll freaking take it, man. UC is dominating.
You also said Ohio State struggles against crap teams like UC.
No, I didn't. I had to back
that is exactly what he said for you. So for you UC fans, before
no.
Exactly.
No. I had to back my. That's when we were coming up. We were a up and coming team at that time.
You were a coming team.
Yeah.
All right.
Always coming.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm going to get off here just in time for it to be 20-minute halftime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Gotta love
Hey,
it.
maybe
Terrible, terrible timing on my own part.
in order for me to get the over on 58.
I told you to leave it alone.
I know.
Told you to leave it alone.
We got to do a lot in this second half.
It's early in the season.
Yeah.
I hate them. I never touch no spread. It's like 50 points.
Look, Dale, this is me being honest now. Ohio State, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I don't know what is it with you, Ohio State fans.
It's 17-3, Greg, but we're talking about betting here. We're talking about the spread. The spread's like, what is it, Derek? What's the spread?
The spread's 58.5 or 48.5. 48.5.
Sorry. A team to win by 49 points in week
one.
Well,
that's why you did. Well, I can't help you there. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I did bet my supervisor a case of beer if the Buckeyes won by 48.5, and I think I'm gonna have to buy me some Bud Light.
You had 2 bets. You had that bet, and you bet.
I was that confident, dude. I was loving what we've seen from Will Howard, and I mean he's not looking bad. I'll say that, but
tell Mom Derek is good one again. Oh, yeah, man, we need to do better in the division, Tony, for sure. In general, we and the opener, right? Just get off to a fast start. You got 3 teams. 3 out of the 4 first games are against teams that were top 3 in the draft order. Yes, the Panthers had traded their pick to Chicago the year before for Bryce Young, but standing-wise, you got the 3 lowest teams from last season in your first 4 weeks.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you guys. When we play a team we're supposed to win, like the Patriots, I get nervous as hell. These are the teams I get nervous for. And like I say, Watch the movie Zombieland. I've learned a lot from that movie. When you kill a zombie, you have to double kill him to make sure he's dead.
Double tap. You
Double
got
tap.
double
You got to double tap. When you think you're beating that team, you need to double tap to make sure your enemy is down. Like that's what I'm saying, man. You got to come at this hard, man.
You got to double tap.
hard.
You got to double tap. You got to double tap it. And another thing is, when you use the restroom, make sure all the stalls are nobody's in the stalls or anything too. That's another thing I've learned.
Yeah, this is bare minimum the kind of start we need to have to this season.
And
3-1 at least through the first Forest Industrial.
No
and
excuses.
please, at least 4-2 in the division.
Yes.
Yeah, for the season. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you want to really accomplish the goals, and the goal is a Super Bowl, it starts with the division. Houday from the toilet. Our man Pork Chop says, Pork Chop, I was running the graphic most of the show. So always shouting out our guy Pork Chop in the Chop Shop. Check it out at chopshop.513.myshopify.com.
He's got an awesome shirt.
shirt.
The Jamar Chase, which Cincy James, give credit to Cincy James because he designed it, and then Chop immediately stole it and put it on a T-shirt. Fuck yeah, why not, right, Chop?
Yeah,
he wasn't.
I love that.
No, that is a good one. No, Chop. I just go through there so many times.
One penny, right? The penny.
Mm-hmm.
The penny one is good, but no, he's got so many good choices. I just
yeah, for sure. And like 100 Bengals and Brews shirts of just different things.
I don't know what to. It's shout like I say, shout out again to Matt Welker who bought every single shirt, man. You know, good luck making that decision every day, buddy.
Yeah, this is only $20 that you can go get this on the Chop Shop right here. Pay Jamar. You know, it comes from the 1 penny discussion, and he wanted at least 1 penny more. We don't know what he really wants, but they are making progress on the deal, so that was great to hear.
When he does sign, should we add an ED paid Jamar?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Change it to PAID.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Jamar.
I love it when you finish my
sandwiches.
Yes, that's what me and Derek, we love to say that. It's from Frozen. We've been saying it for like 4 years. We're so cute. All right. Thank you all for tuning in on a Saturday in the middle of college football. I hope you all were trying to enjoy football while you're listening to us. I mean, Parker, you got to listen to Parker because the man's amazing.
Yes.
We thank him for his time. We love to have him on. Good to have him on for the season.
78 people either like us more than college football or they're just watching us while they're watching college football. Probably more likely that. But
for sure.
Hey, and if you haven't, subscribe to our Bengals and Brews YouTube show. We're trying to get to 2,000 before the season starts. You don't have to watch us anymore. If you want, just go in there, subscribe, and then hit mute.
and get a second YouTube account and a third, and subscribe to
how many emails you got?
Who cares?
Yeah.
Just put all your emails on there. It's fine. No one cares. You don't have that many emails? Make a new one.
Hey,
I'll send it out to all my close to 2,000. We need to get there, bro crew. Help us get there.
Tell you what, I'll send it out to all my faculty members where I work at. I'll do that.
There you go.
Well, then you'd be fired probably.
Yeah, never mind.
Would not be a smart decision on your part.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild stuff on here.
Like, maybe
rubbing some barbecue sauce on your body.
Yeah.
Greg, we need to have a meeting. And they're just playing the different clips of things Greg has done.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I don't work there anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely suitable for children. So instead of Saturday morning cartoons, you could put on our Friday show from the day before on YouTube and let your kids. Not suitable for kids. No,
do not do that.
Derek wouldn't let his own kids watch this show.
No,
never. He barely lets me around them. I can't.
That's a lot.
What did I say in the car on the way to the preseason game? Like shit or something. And Declan's like, "Why did you say that?" I'm like,
yeah.
I'm thinking, fuck you. I'm doing pretty good so far.
Right.
That's the only one you heard, at least. He was so busy on the games.
Yeah.
He didn't hear the other 100 that I probably dropped while talking to Derek on the drive up.
You, Dale? Nah.
Never. But yeah, man, this was a fun Saturday show. We're with football back, you never know when we're going to go live. That's another reason to hit that notification because, it's Sunday. The Bengals win. Boys, it's a road game. We're home. That's a problem for me and Derek. If it's not a road game, we usually stop to eat. I'm 2 hours away from home. It's just I get home at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night on a 1 o'clock game. So it's hard to usually do a post-game show at a game that we're attending. But if it's a road game, because I don't have the money to go to those. And probably wouldn't go because, well,
who knows?
Especially if I had to fly.
We might go live from my house. Week 2.
Yeah,
all of us.
2. Yeah.
It can happen.
The 4 of us will be at Derek's having a little watch party in his garage, little, touching each other as privates and stuff like that.
Maybe get some maybe get some ass there.
Is that what you're bringing, Greg? You bringing pieces of ass?
I don't know.
I'm gonna bring some mac and cheese. I think what did Chop say? Some baked beans.
Baked beans.
You're doing a pork butt and some ribs. Should be a good time, man. I'm excited.
Wait. Chop's bringing baked beans. Chop's bringing his beans because I'm riding with him, man. I mean, if he's eating beans in the car, man, I may be dead. I get over there.
That's gonna be a fun trip for you, Greg.
I was gonna say, man. Oh, shit.
And since it's still the weekend, even though it's not a Friday, we'll leave you with the dot bot, baby.
Bengals and Brews, the podcast crew. Get up an orange arrow, pork chop too. Greg Luther, Big Savage, Dot Bot King, Yoshi Lover, they bring the sing. Cincinnati Bengals, the pride of the city. Join the fun with pork chop, Police Mayor. Listen in, laughter in the air. Bengals and Brews, the ultimate flair. The kings of the mic know they care.
Man, that's a banger, boys. That's a banger.
Oh, yeah.
And we couldn't end without saying we love you all and Hootie!